Flosstube. My name is Becca, and I'm SamBrie Stitches here on YouTube and other social media platforms. Welcome to another special edition of Interview with a Flosstuber. I am beyond excited. This is an amazing way to kick off 2023. Just so excited to be here with Kimberly Jolly. I can't believe this is happening right now. I'm like fangirling. Um, I really don't think that she needs an interview, but she definitely deserves one. Kimberly has two YouTube channels on top of running a very successful business. One of the channels is called Fat Quarter Shop, and it features all things quilting. And then there's a Fat Quarter Shop Flosstube, which features all things cross stitch, as well as hosting a weekly live that you can interact with Kimberly, which is pretty cool. She also showcases her stitching and unique finishing ideas as well, which is very good because she is full of enabling in both channels.
Yes.
Prepared for that. I think you're the best enabler within our community, I would say. So most definitely. She also started her company several years ago and built it from the ground up. And her story is just so inspiring that I was hoping before we jumped into the questions, if you would mind telling us a history of how you founded Fat Quarter Shop and turned it into what it is today.
Yeah, so it's been 19 years. I can't believe it's been that long. I had a corporate job. I was a CPA, I guess I still am. And I kind of knew my company wasn't doing that great. And I thought, I can have kids, I can be a stay-at-home mom. I'll just sell fabric out of my house. So, for a couple of years, it was in my house. And then it kind of just took off. And really, the idea was at the time, I couldn't, every time I went to a quilt store, they never had fat quarter bundles. And I was so into keeping the collection together. I didn't want to have to think about, all I wanted to do was pick like one background. I didn't want to have to pick like a green, a pink, a red. I didn't want to mix collections. There weren't as many designers back then. So there really wasn't a lot to choose from. So if you started mixing collections, it was ugly. Your quilt was ugly. So at the time, I just had so little to pick from. And I thought, well, maybe I'll start an account just so I can have access to the fat quarter bundles for myself. So I could actually buy them because online there really wasn't anybody selling them. I couldn't find them. So that's kind of how it started. And then, just a lot of hard work later. Here we are 19 years ago, and I'm definitely not a stay-at-home mom. And I guess I'm kind of okay with that.
Wow, that's amazing. That's pretty neat, just starting it out because you wanted to have access to something and then growing it into such a big business and giving all of us access to it because not very many of us have quilting shops or cross stitch shops near us. So yeah, that's a pretty neat way to get started. So let's jump into the questions. The first one is, why did you start a floss tube and were there any particular motivations?
So, I wanted to get into the cross stitch market and I had wanted to for a long time and I really didn't know how. And so I just kind of started cross stitching and I thought, I can just do a floss tube. And I had been watching like Priscilla and Chelsea. And I think at that point I had emailed them like, hey, do you want to work together? And I thought, well, they said yes. So I'll just start a floss tube. So I kind of just started. I used to do it in my office because I was a little bit too nervous to do it like in my studio where we film other things because I was so nervous. And so I just kind of started doing it, honestly, just for fun, just for myself to motivate. It was kind of like a motivator to get me kind of back into it because I cross stitched when I was a kid. Um, so it's just kind of like, oh, other people are doing it. I can do it too. I always feel like I'm kind of that person who, if someone can do it, I can do it. So I just thought, oh, I'll just do it. That's kind of how it happened.
And now you have this amazing setup and all that. That's so cool. Just how everything has grown. So how did you come up with, I guess, your channel name and your shop name? How did you come up with Fat Quarter Shop?
Well, fat quarter is the size of a quilting fabric. So that's how Fat Quarter Shop started. And then at first, when I was filming, I was just filming on my quilting channel. And then we were getting complaints and people were like, oh my gosh, we only want quilting. And I was like, oh, okay. So we just created another channel and just kept it really simple and just added floss tube to the end because that's, searchable. People will know exactly what it means.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So just keeping it simple.
Yeah, I see that from some other channels too, how some have separated the quilting and the cross stitch, and others are warning people way ahead of time that they're going to do this or that in their videos so that they can,
Hmm.
keep it all separate. So,
Yeah.
so how did you learn to stitch, and how long have you been stitching?
So when I was like maybe 9 or 10, a lady who worked with my mom, she used to cross stitch and I would see it. And so I asked her one day if she would show me. So we bought one of those like plastic canvas things and I half stitched a frog and it was like this big, it was huge.
Wow.
And it was literally like pearl cotton, yarn. I don't even know what it was, but then I just loved it. And so then I asked my mom, oh, can I get another kit? And then she taught me, okay, this is how you cross stitch. And then I just did it from time to time. And like, I remember I would watch, there was like someone on PBS and she would sometimes have shows and give tips on cross stitching. And so, when I would see her, I would think, oh, let me get back into it. So that's kind of, I just learned it as a kid. I was always kind of crafting. I would crochet. I was always doing something.
How neat. I didn't know there was, I watched PBS, but I don't remember seeing that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Huh.
It was like on the Austin, there's like a weird channel that used to be around and it would have like weird people on it, but it would have like a random good cooker, before cooking shows and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Oh, how cool. That's so neat. So do you happen to have a favorite project that you've stitched?
Um, Gosh, I love everything. I mean, when I was decorating for Christmas, I was like, oh my gosh, I have so many things. So I really love the Autumn Love that I just finished. And I think I love it because when I started it, I had a goal to finish it quick. And so I love that part of it because I've never done that before. But also, I've done Kringles, which is huge and I love it, but it took like a year and a half. So that kind of took the fun out of it. But I do find that anytime I try to use anything like linen or anything like too hard, I end up not liking the project. So I've decided I got to stick to my Ada and my 25 count Lagana and keep it simple, or else it just gets me all in a tizzy.
I know how you feel because I have been an Ada only stitcher. I love my Ada, and recently I've started, stitching on linen, and I do not like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it at all. I mean, I do it because I have to for some of the designs, but it's not enjoyable because I don't know what it is, but I'm right there with you. Love my Ada for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you enjoy most about stitching?
I love that when I do it, I just put on my headphones and I watch like something true crime or nonfiction, and I can just kind of tune out the rest of the world. My life is really busy. I have 4 kids. Um, I work full time, and so it's kind of like my outlet where I can just sit with my dog. My dog will usually sit with me, and we just like have our little time.
That's neat. Yeah, that's
So,
that's cool. And then it kind of helps you tune everything out and kind of calm and focus on your
mhm.
stitching. I love that too, for sure.
I feel
Um,
like it helps me sleep better at night. Like if I can stitch before,
yeah.
instead of having screen time, I just go straight from stitching to sleep and I just go right to sleep.
Oh, that's actually, I should try that.
Yeah.
Didn't even think about that. Yeah, because it basically just kind of shuts you down
Calms.
for the day. Yeah, love
Hmm.
that. I'll have to try that for sure. Because usually I have like the TV or floss tube or something going, so my
Hmm.
mind is still going. So I'll have to try that. We're gonna get out of Stitchy Talk a little bit
Okay.
and learn a little bit more about you. So what's your favorite genre of book or movie?
So I actually don't watch movies. I don't know the last time I watched a movie. I watch anything that's true crime, documentary, or nonfiction. That's it. And if it's not real, I can't watch it. And so, there's been some true crime movies that have come out and I'll try to watch them, but then I'm just like, okay, that fact is wrong. That fact is wrong. That fact is wrong. I know too much about it.
Yeah.
And just the whole drama, I can't watch it. But it's kind of weird because my husband doesn't watch movies either. So when we go like to family functions, my brother and his wife, they're like, "Oh, did you watch this? Did we watch this?" And his wife, my brother's wife always has to tell him, "Don't you know your sister doesn't watch movies?" So I do kind of feel bad because my kids are going to be like going to school and they're not going to know anything about anything trendy because my husband just watches sports and I just watch true crime. And sometimes I don't even think they know what's going on in the world because we don't turn the news on. Like we just kind of go in our little bubble. So I kind of do feel bad for my kids because we don't watch movies. But if they ask to go to a movie, we will take them. But I won't watch it. Just go to sleep.
You sleep during the movies. That's perfect.
Yeah.
I think they'll catch up once, in school kids are talking about it and that kind of thing, and they'll get caught up on everything. But that's interesting of not watching movies. We don't really watch movies either. We don't go to the movie theater. And my husband does watch the sports as well too. So, kind of in the same boat, I suppose. But my kids are older, so they do their own thing now.
Well, it was funny over the summer, Top Gun came out. And so my daughter went to see it because she's a teenager and she came home. She was like, "Mom, Dad, do you know what Top Gun is?" And we were like, "Well, we at least know what that is." And we were like, "Oh, yeah, we watched it." And she like went back and watched it again and we still haven't seen it. But she's like, "Oh, like, she thinks it's so cool that she knows everything about Top Gun." And I'm just like, "Oh, I just like doesn't even cross my radar. I don't even have any interest in seeing it."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I did hear that it was a very good movie. So I watched the original. I just haven't watched the new one. So yeah, that's funny. Do you have a fictional place that you would most like to go to then? Yeah, I
No.
was gonna say probably not.
No, like okay, so I'll tell you a story. It's not fictional and it'll probably make me look kind of bad, but went recently to Wisconsin and I went and toured like all the Jeffrey Dahmer sites. And I kind of did my own little Kimberly tour. Like I had art, like before I went, I looked up everything. So like if I go somewhere where there's true crime, I will go by the houses. I mean, I'm not going to take pictures or be obnoxious or anything, but I will admit to doing that more than just that time.
That doesn't make you look bad though, because it's on the internet, it's on the TV, and it happened. It's kind of, history, I guess, of what happened. So you kind of want to see what it was, or like the locations and stuff. That's pretty interesting. I still think it doesn't make you look bad at all. No, that's pretty cool. So if you could choose to do anything for a day, what would it be?
Oh, I would go to a 5-star hotel. I would turn my phone off and I would sleep all day and I would order food and I would be left alone for the whole day. I wouldn't stitch. I would have my phone off. I would just turn on like the oxygen network. I would just tune out. I wouldn't want to go anywhere fancy. I mean, I guess the 5-star hotel, yeah, but I mean, I would only want to go to a 5-star hotel so they could deliver me meals.
I love it.
And just have Starbucks, but honestly, just like zen out, just be like left alone to, because sometimes when you do that, I have found it's like rejuvenates you to come up with more ideas, and just having that downtime gives you time in your brain to think about new ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds amazing actually. Because you're
Yeah.
so busy and you're probably go, go, go all the
Mhm.
time that, just being able to shut down and be on your own and have quiet is like
Mhm.
would be the best thing ever.
Yeah, that's been my dream for like 10 years and it hasn't happened yet, but I'm thinking maybe when my kids go to college, I'll get the chance to just be left alone for one day.
You may just have to treat yourself though at some point. So
Yeah.
yeah. So we've touched on this a little bit, but do you have any other hobbies besides cross stitch and quilting?
I'll crochet every now and then, and that's pretty much about it. I do like to obviously watch true crime. Uh, that's pretty much it. I'm pretty basic. Yeah, don't really have anything else. Yeah. I watch my kids' sports, but I honestly have no idea what's going on half the time. I and I drive my husband crazy because I'm like, "Is that a foul?" He's like, "Yes, your son fouled for like the fifth time. Yes, he fouled." I'm like, "Okay."
You're there for moral support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to get better at it, but I kind of think the last year I came to the realization that it might just not be possible for me to figure it out. Like, I've really tried to pay attention, and my husband is just looking at me like, are you even here? I just don't get it. Like, I'm just not connecting with it.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes I'm just so worried about. I have one kid that's super aggressive, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's gonna hurt himself. He's gonna break his arm. He's gonna break his leg. Um, so I think as a mom, I'm just thinking about, please just don't get hurt. Don't get hurt. Don't get hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. You're in mom mode, but you're there still there for support. I
Yeah.
don't think like my husband's really big into sports and our girls played it a little bit when they were younger. And there's so many rules and moves and all that kind of stuff in sports. I don't think I ever grasped it really either, but all that matters is that you're there. So
Yeah, that's true.
that's the best part. Yeah. And as far as other hobbies, quilting and cross stitch, I find they take up so much time that I don't have time to do anything else. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And they're also so expensive. Like, I can't imagine adding something else to that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. Not very many people think that cross stitch is expensive. I've had conversations at work because I bring my stitching with me. And I have to be like, no, 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 there's fabric, and go through everything. I'm like, it adds up. It's not
Yeah,
cheap.
it does. Yeah.
It's definitely not cheap. This is one of my most favorite questions, and it's how would your friends describe you?
Okay, so I would say I'm fiercely loyal. That's something that, like, if you're not loyal to me, I'm not your friend. So I'm super loyal. I will be there in a crack of a minute. If you need me, I'm there. And I would say I'm pretty quiet. Like, on camera, I talk a lot, but in real life, I'm pretty quiet. I'm um pretty quiet, but I will speak my mind. Like, you will know my opinion. If you ask my opinion, I will give it to you. But I would say I'm just super loyal. Like, my friends, I can't tell you how many times they're like, "Oh my gosh," when I had a friend in the hospital and he called me. Like, out of all the high school friends, there's like 10 of us. He called me and he was like, "Well, I knew you would show up." I
Oh,
mean, like, I'm just that person that you call if you really need something.
that's a very amazing trait to have. If your friends are turning to you, that's amazing. Love that. So, for stitching, how do you prefer to stitch? Do you use like a hoop, a Q-snap, scroll frame, that kind of thing?
I just stitch in hand, and I just use wonder clips to, like, clip everything, and I just try to stitch in hand. I did start out when I got back into cross stitch a few years ago, like in 2018, I was using a Q-snap. I do think using a Q-snap, your work comes out looking a lot cleaner. But I just kept, like, I would go somewhere and I would have to hoop it and then start. It just was taking too much time. And so Chelsea from Priscilla and Chelsea, actually, she told me one day, she was like, "You are Kimberly Jolly, you can do it."
I
And I
love
thought,
that.
okay, if Chelsea says I can do it, I can do it. And so she, like, sat and, like, gave me some tips. And I will say it took me about 6 weeks to really get the hang of it.
Wow. I have still not been able to stitch in hand, even with Ada, which should be like the easiest, but yeah, I've tried. I
Hmm.
love that. You are Kimberly Jolly and you can do it. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we all need to use that with our names in it, and just like
Yeah.
pump
Well,
ourselves up,
it was like she believed in me. Why couldn't I believe in myself?
right?
Is what I took from that. I was like, okay, if Chelsea thinks I can do it, then I probably can.
Yep. And you're doing it. So yeah.
Yeah.
So I know you're an Ada stitcher. Do you have like a preferred count that you tend to lean towards?
So I pretty much stitch 14 count Ada or 25 count Lugana, and that's it. I do have one project that I started in January uh, with Glitter Village, and it was like some kind of crazy linen. And I haven't thrown it away or anything, but I am kind of getting motivated to just finish the project. But other than that, that's pretty much it. 16 count, to me, the thread is too clunky on it. So really just those two.
Yeah.
So I will say it limits me. You know, yesterday I was looking at something and I was like, I'm really limited because, you can't get all the fancy stuff, but at the same time, I know if I do it with linen, I'll be more likely to give up.
Yeah.
And I don't want my viewers to like see that either, because then they're going to be like, she's lazy. Like I want to be able to start something and actually complete it so that I can actually inspire people to do the same thing. I want to be a good example.
Yeah, I get that with the Ada stitching, because there was a sampler that I wanted to stitch and it had over one. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and so what I did is I just turned it into backstitch because it was just words.
Mm-hmm.
And there's ways to modify, I guess, the charts to make it work on Ada, but it is a little bit more limiting, but the pieces still turn out just as beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you showed the finishes with the Ada,
Yeah.
they look the same, as being on linen. It's just they finish beautifully. And I think, because I do my own finishing, they're easier to
Mm-hmm.
finish than linen
Mm-hmm.
because it's easier to keep straight and all that other kind
Mm-hmm.
of stuff. So yeah, I'm right there
Yeah.
with Ada.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have a favorite place that you've traveled, and did you bring stitching along when you went?
So I don't travel as much as I used to, but I love Las Vegas. I love to play blackjack. I love Las Vegas. I love to go to Crime Con, which is like an annual true crime advocacy type event. I would love to take my kids to Hawaii one day. But wherever I go, they're stitching. So I take like a light on the plane. I take little magnifying glasses. I stitch before I get on the plane, when I get on the plane, when I'm on the plane. I stitch anywhere I can. But I love Las Vegas. I haven't been there in years, but oh my gosh, when my kids go to college, I will be in Las Vegas several times a year, hopefully.
But we did Vegas when we lived in California. We went to Las Vegas once when our kids were younger, and we took them to like all the touristy spots.
Mhm.
I think it was MGM Grand had a lion cub or something like
Mhm.
that inside of it, and they had a picture with the lion cub and all that. It's a neat place that they fit so much into that area. It's crazy. So yeah,
Mhm.
but
Well,
that's
there's so much to look at. You can people watch,
yeah.
I'm super nosy by nature. And so I like to like watch people, and everything there is just beautiful. It's very like inspiring. Like you can look at the tile on the floor and be like, oh my gosh, that would make an amazing quilt.
Mhm.
So much to look at.
Oh yeah, and inspiration. That's
Mhm.
true. That's a good way to look at it too. So, what can you not do without for your stitching? Like your favorite go-to must-have besides the basics?
Oh my gosh. I really think sharp scissors. It drives me crazy if I like clip and it doesn't clip all the way to my thread. So I would say sharp scissors. And honestly, those wonder clips, if I don't have the wonder clips, like my fabric is kind of going everywhere. And so if I don't have those two things, I kind of get frustrated because I can't like get my groove. So I mean, those are basics though, but that's
I
kind of my things. And I keep them in my car. I
no,
keep needles, scissors, and the little clips in my car. And my husband's always like, "You have all this stuff." I'm like, "I know, it's fine. It's fine. Just leave it. Just don't touch it. It's good. It's good."
that's actually smart because
Hmm.
sometimes, like I said, I take my stitching everywhere, but I have one pouch that has like all of my goodies in it, the accessories and
Hmm.
everything. And sometimes I forget it, and then I'm like,
Hmm.
what the heck? I grabbed my project bag, but I don't have, yeah. So I need to do that. Just have an extra set in my car just
Hmm.
in case I forget. I love that.
Hmm.
So how do you decide on what you're going to work on next for your projects?
I just feel like if I like something, I want to stitch it. So I look obviously at the Fat Quarter Shop What's New page every day, but honestly, I just look at something, and if I think, oh, I could do that just like it is, let's do it, or change it up, or just if I like it, I try to stitch it. So really, I do try to mix up designers, so I'm not always stitching the same person stuff, just to kind of be fair to different designers. But I just try to, if I think it will fit good in my house or fit good in my office or something like that, then I'm going to be inspired to stitch it.
Okay, so do you stitch more for like decor type of
Yes,
stitching? Yeah,
always.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, me too. That's
yeah,
all this is decor
yeah.
stitching behind me. Yep, love that. So we're down to the last question, but before we get to that, I was just curious if there is something that not very many people know about you that you'd like to share.
So I love rap music, not the music of today, but like the Beastie Boys and
Okay.
like Run DMC, like all the 90s rap. I love that. And so if I'm ever in a bad mood, all I have to do is put that on. And yeah, my husband always makes fun of me. Yeah, so
I
I
love it.
love like the old school rap music,
That's
which
so
doesn't
funny.
really seem to fit me, but yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. That's funny because I was rocking out to 90s music this morning. I dropped my daughter off at work and turned on the 90s station, and Gangsta's Paradise came on, and I was
Oh,
like,
so good.
yes.
Yes, so good.
I love that. That's pretty cool. So, this is my most favorite question, and I leave it to the end of the interviews for a purpose because the last couple of years have been very difficult. So this question is, what's the best thing that has happened to you within the past couple of years?
So I would say my kids, my daughter's doing drill team. She's kind of like finding her dream of doing drill team. I have two sons that are playing basketball and they love it. They love being on a team. I have a son that's playing the clarinet and he's getting really good. And so just seeing my kids like actually grow up and find dreams of their own is good, because honestly, when I leave this world one day, that's what's left is my kids. So anything, just seeing my kids grow is like the best thing ever.
That's pretty cool. I actually played clarinet growing up. I was in band too. I don't think I could do it today. I don't think I could pick it up and start playing it, but that's pretty neat. So you have like a musician and then you have sports kids. That's pretty neat. I love that.
Yeah,
Um,
and they're on different teams. And my basketball players, they like it for different reasons. One person likes it to play
yeah.
and to be like, get on the team. And like, if he's not a starter, he's going to do everything he can he'll go up to the coach and be like, what do I need to do? And my other kid's like, oh, I'm okay to just be there. I just want to be on a team. But he's the one that's like on the stands, like cheering everybody on, clapping, standing up. So it's really just neat because they like it for totally different reasons.
That's pretty cool. Well, and that's what makes them themselves,
Mhm.
unique too. So, sounds like you have raised some pretty good kids and they're discovering themselves. And even though the past couple of years has been difficult for a lot of people, they continue to grow and find out, who they are, which is pretty
Mhm.
inspiring for sure. So, well, thank you so much for doing this interview. I know you're crazy busy with your schedule, and I just appreciate you taking time out of your day to do this because I know it's going to make a lot of people super happy. And hopefully, if you're watching this on New Year's Day, Happy New Year's. I hope you have a great 2023 as well. So,
Yeah, and thank you for having me. And everybody eat black eyed peas today so you have good luck all year.
yes. Oh, I didn't know that was a thing either.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so cool. All right. Well, take Kimberly's advice and we'll say bye to everybody on Floss too.
Bye.